Well, all right. It's been a hot minute since I talked to you all from the front stoop, but here I am, back, feeling good. You know, when you have 3 kids and they start driving around and doing things, they pick up weird sicknesses, from their friends and their friends' families, and they bring it home to Easter after doing a little spring break, and they wipe out everybody in the family. So that put me out for a little while, but I'm back. Thank you to the both of them. And I thought, I wanted to talk about things on the stoop that seem important to me or seem important in general. And this one is just an odd one, right? So, no secret, I worked at WGN for 15 years. A few years back, I left, and now I'm at CBS, right? So they had like this big get together this past weekend because the company that owns WGN, they basically had huge layoffs, and they laid off a bunch of people at WGN, a bunch of on-air people, and also behind the scenes people. They've been doing it for a while, but it was pretty devastating because what you see at home are the on-air people, even though for every on-air person, there's probably like 7 staff members, right? To give you kind of an idea, maybe it's a little high, maybe 5 staff members. Either way, there are a lot of people behind the scenes that make all of those people on TV look good. I know because I've been on both sides of it. I spent a lot of time making people look and sound good on TV. And then I kind of got bored of it, if I'm being honest with you, and wanted to, not bored with it. Bored is not the right word. I got annoyed because I wanted to, if I'm putting all that work in to make something good, I wanted to benefit from it. So that's why I started this website and my other website, Stories from the 78, and this podcast, and now I got a little bit of everything. So I'm really happy and it's great. But I digress. Go back to this party. So this party was a celebration, and it was put on by a few folks at WGN that are just really great people. It's the best I can say. There was like a group of 4 people that put on a party for 150 people at a place called Chief O'Neill's on the northwest side in Avondale neighborhood, and it was a great time. It was a lot of fun, and it's the first time that I have been in a room full of that many WGN people since I left. I've been in a room full of people here and there. My friends, my really core group of friends, I've seen many times since I left WGN. But this is the first time I've seen people, directors I haven't seen, or some camera folks that I haven't seen, or writers or whatnot, right? So in the time I was there, I worked with a lot of different people. I was on the morning show for a long time. I was digital reporter at the end. And when I left, I had an opportunity to go somewhere else, right? And the opportunity wasn't in television. It was at a nonprofit, which was god awful. It's about the best way I can describe this nonprofit. Terrible people. They lied to people over and over. It was just gross. And I'm happy I'm out of it. I would never do anything like that again. But when I left, it was still kind of weird pandemic times, and people, and I didn't want to be I was leaving because I got an opportunity to leave. And I also left because the people that were in charge made no attempt to keep me. Now, the irony of that, I don't know if I should get into it as much as I am, but whatever. I was there, and like any job, after 15 years, you have things pop up. And to make a long story short, when I got this job opportunity with this nonprofit, I had gone to my then boss and said, "Hey, they're going to give me this much money." I wasn't expecting them to match because the matching would have required them to pony up north of $30,000 from where I currently was. So I knew, just by working at WGN for that long, I knew they wouldn't do that. But my then boss, who I've had a interesting relationship with, was like, "Sounds like a good opportunity, Tom." And that was it. Like there was no, well, let me see what I can do. Oh gosh, you've been an asset to the station for so long. We love having you. Let me see what we can work out. None of that happened, which I find hilarious. And I felt out, to be honest, I was a little pissed off because I worked there for so long. And this, this guy in charge has been in charge at that point for like 3 years, and he doesn't know me. He doesn't know the work I've done or anything like that. It was just the observations he has made of me from the point he became the boss until this point, right? Um, and he's my age, which is the hilarity of all, because all of a sudden he puts on the old news director hat and thinks he knows what he's talking about. And he didn't. To be honest with you, he didn't at all. He was not fair to me. I can't speak for the entire newsroom. I certainly wouldn't do that. But to me, it was interesting. Let's just say that. So two things happened in this past week, right? I book a guy. When I read this guy's name at CBS, I booked his country star, right, or country artist, and he happens to be a guy I went to high school with and went to like day camp with when I was a kid, back in Palos Hills in like the 90s. His name is Kelly Daniels. That is his stage name. I'll keep his stage name as the name I use. I knew him as something else. Maybe if you did one of these, you would understand what I'm talking about. But I digress. Well, like him and I also cold, interesting relationship. He was kind of a pain in the ass. We were growing up. He was a loudmouth guy. He was the guy that wanted to mess with everybody. That doesn't make him a bad guy. But he was just a guy that like went always a tick too far for me, and I was annoyed by it. And that's fine. That doesn't make him a bad guy at all. It just makes me annoyed by people like that, really, at the end of the day. So in 1 week, I realized that I booked this guy after I did some research and read about him. Like, oh my God, that's the guy that I went to Stag High School. He went to Stag, man. I know this guy. Like, we had like a bicycle parade in Little League where we decorated our bikes or camp or whatever it was for 4th of July, and we decorated our bikes and we played Little League and we were in high school. Now, the last meaningful conversation I'd had with him, he probably doesn't remember, but I had pulled every muscle in my neck. So so I'm walking around school like this, right? So I look like a guy who should be made fun of. There's no doubt in my mind. I look like a weirdo. But when you pull the muscles in your neck, it hurts like hell. And he would make fun of the fact because he was not a sports guy. He was kind of a guy that smoked and played in allegedly played in rock bands when we were I didn't know this at the time. I just thought he was like a skater guy that he just liked to mess with jocks, right? That's what it seemed like. That's what I remember. So the last time I actually had a meaningful, sort of meaningful conversation with him was telling him, well, like he jumped on my neck and he like pulled it, like he put me in a headlock and he pulled it and he crinked my neck and it hurt like hell. And I remember we were in B building at Stag High School. I don't even know what they call it anymore, but this is B building in the back, kind of by the boys' locker rooms. And when you walk out to go outside to the athletic fields, I'm walking up this hallway, and I remember blue lockers or orange lockers. It was either orange or blue. And I threw him off of me, and I grabbed him by his neck with my hands like this, and I held him up. And I told him if he ever touched me again, I'd kill him because, I mean, I was 17 years old and I was hurt and I was in pretty good shape, and I don't want anybody messing with me. And that's kind of been the story of my life, right? I have all these people that underestimate me and I don't know why. I really don't. Like in my career, I've had people underestimate me. When I was in radio, people underestimated this guy. Kelly Daniels underestimated me back then. Now, we were kids back then. So, full transparency, we were kids. Everybody probably underestimated people or wanted to be this or that. But he was like always kept in my mind of that, like, oh, yeah, that guy. So, imagine my surprise when I get a pitch about him and I'm like, oh, man, I'm like, this guy. Kelly Daniels. All right, why not? You know what? I'm older and I'm nobody's perfect. Bygones be bygones. Book him in the studio. He comes in. I'm not gonna lie. He smelled like alcohol. He did say, I will say, I'm not saying he was drinking. He just smelled like alcohol, and his hands were dirty. And the first thing that he says to me after 30 years was, "Damn, man, we age well." And I was like, "Yeah, we do, man. Congratulations, good for you." And he comes, and he gives me a hug, and it was nice pleasantries, because we're adults. This is 30 years, literally 30 years after this, right? And he talks to me, and his hands are all cut up, kind of, and they're dirty. And he's like, "Oh, I had to replace a fan belt on this bus." in the middle of the night, right outside of Indianapolis. The belt for the alternator belt blew on this big, and he's got this big ass tour bus, huge tour bus that's parked right in front of the station. And I kid you not, it says Kelly Daniels on the side. It's this big silver bullet looking tour bus. And he happens to mention that it's the same bus that Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers used during the Island in the Streams tour, which is just kind of awesome and rad, all that stuff. So we catch up right there in the CBS lobby. I bring him in the back. I'm a little worried about him saying something. He's a little, you're not sure. I don't know him. And he's coming in smelling like alcohol. I've learned this lesson before at my time at WGN, where it's like, oh, needless to say, he did great. He might have told an off-color joke in the green room. And I'll just say the first part of not even the joke, but there's a guy, and his name, this guy whose name, his name's Juan at CBS. And Juan comes in, he's a director, he's a great guy. He comes into the room and Juan's telling him like what's going on with the show that day and what time they're coming up. And I wasn't there to hear this. I only heard the secondhand. But the next thing out of Kelly's mouth was asking him if he was Hispanic. And then he tells a joke about basketballs and all this stuff. So it wasn't a terrible joke, but, the world we live in, it could be a little, ooh, right? So I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, this is what I get for booking a guy that used to be this guy in high school. I didn't learn my lesson, but I'm like, you know what? I've had people lately preach to me grace and mercy. People deserve all of that. So as long as my coworker was fine, I was fine. And my coworker was fine. He seemed to care. He laughed about it. We both found out we were Mexican. So we kind of bonded over that, which was kind of fun because I've been dealing with that kind of stuff all my life because I don't look Mexican. But when I hear Mexican jokes, I inform people that I'm Mexican. You know what I'm saying? And that's happened a lot. And I don't think Mr. Kelly Daniels knew that I was half Mexican either. It doesn't matter. It wasn't that bad of a joke. It was just like, oh, all right. Well, he's here. So I had to deal with him, and I did. And then the thing I didn't tell you about the old WGM boss is that now he's over at my place, and I got to deal with him over at my place. And you know what? Whatever. I'm a grown man. I did no wrong. I know what I did. He knows what he did. We're working together. We're figuring it out. It's all good. But either way, it was still like a mental hurdle to get past him because he just started like the week before, but I really started working with him in earnest last week. And then I worked with this Kelly Daniels guy last week. And there was just a lot, right? It was a lot going on, and I'm doing it. I'm figuring it out. Everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody makes mistakes. I certainly have done that over my time, and people have been good to me about letting me have second chances. So that's the least I can do with all these people, at least in my head, that have wronged me. So that's what I did. So, and I felt pretty good about it. I worked with said guy at work, and I worked with this Kelly Daniels guy. And then, there's this big get together for some folks that lost their job at WGN over the weekend. Then it reminded me of this story. I'm not making this up. This is a real story. So a couple years ago, I get invited onto a boat. There's a guy at WGN, fantastic human. His name is Terry. Fantastic human being. He invites you out on his boat. It's like a vacation. It's a beautiful boat, the Easy P. You go out on Lake Michigan. He brings you down to the river. He brings you all the way to the south part of the river by the Sears Tower. I mean, you can spend a whole day with Terry on his boat. There's grilling. Oh, it's fantastic. And it's a privilege to go on his boat and enjoy yourself. So I got invited to go on this boat. This is like the summer. I left WGN in the fall of 22. And this is the summer of 23 at this point, right? So I get invited on this boat, and the boat's a good time, There's all these guys on the Mike Toomey's on the boat, a writer named Bill Kissinger, Ross is on the boat, and there's this guy Brian on the boat along with, and we all know each other. We all are having fun, and Brian and I have always had this kind of razzy kind of relationship, and Brian's filming video of this time on the boat, all a bunch of guys, like a guy's day, getting out on the boat, smoking some cigars, having some drinks, going swimming, all the things you do on a late summer afternoon in Chicago on Lake Michigan. It was great. It was one of the best days I ever had. So he's filming all this video. So I get a text from somebody that will remain nameless, and I find out that the video that was shot was put out, and people are watching this video, and then people are asking me, "Hey, weren't you there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was there. Like, ask, Bill or Toomey or whatever. Yeah, I was there." This this fucking guy, he erased me out of the video. He like took digitally removed me from pictures, or not pictures, of video. He did. Took me out, man. And I was like, "What? What? Why like what did I do?" We had a good time on the boat. We like talked, we were joking around, all these things. And yeah, man, it was kind of weird. So I texting some people about it, and they're like, "Well, apparently he was mad that he was invited to your wedding, and he didn't get invited to your parties." And I was like, "That's such crap. I invited him. We had some Halloween parties back in the day before my wife and I were married. We had some fun Halloween parties because that's our holiday, Halloween parties. So we had them." And I invited him. He's like, "Nah, man, that's not my thing. I'm not going to come." And we've had other things where I invited him. "Nah, man, that's not my thing. I'm not going to come." He happened to date one of my wife's girlfriends. That didn't end well. My wife was like, "Meh." She didn't really love said girlfriend either, but I didn't care. Like, I'm not going to hold a grudge about, somebody dating somebody. Like, what do I care, right? Excuse me. So, but apparently I did not invite him to the wedding because we were paying for the wedding, and it's my second wedding, my wife's first. So it's not big, it's not small, but we just have like, a certain amount of room for people. And he wasn't in my life. Like, I didn't see him every day. I didn't talk to him every day. I saw him maybe once every couple months, kind of a relationship. And so I didn't invite him, but I invited other people that were on the boat. But even the guys on the boat, some of them weren't at my wedding, like Toomey and Terry, and like, because it's dudes are dudes, man. They don't hold that stuff. You invite the people that you could fit into the damn venue, right? Where you're paying $150 a head or whatever it was. So I find out that he's mad about that I didn't invite him. Okay, fine. So I text him and I say, well, first I call Brian and I say, "Hey, man, like, listen, like, I hope we're good. I'm sorry if I upset you, yada, yada, yada." Nothing. Doesn't, I'm like, "Call me back. Let's get a beer. Let's hang out. Let's talk." I text him the same thing. "Hey, like, I left you a voicemail, but I feel really bad if you felt this way." I felt bad that he thought that I like didn't invite him on purpose or I was being mean to him. I wasn't really upset about being erased from a video. I just thought that was a little nuts that he erased me from a video. That in itself is weird. So, okay, fine. That happened a couple years ago. Haven't seen him or talked to him since, right? Well, Brian ends up he leaves WGN. So he's not there either. So I'm wondering to myself when I get to this party, I wonder if Brian's going to be there. Well, sure shit enough. Here he comes walking in his typical Brian outfit. He's wearing like some goofy shirt with a band on it. That's his thing. And he's not making eye contact with me. Like, Chief O'Neill's not a big thing in the back, and there's an outside. So we're like, I'm, bobbing and weaving, talking to all these people, having a good time, catching up with some friends I haven't seen in a while. It was a wonderful time. My wife was there. And then, like, towards the end, I'm like, I got to talk to Brian, man. I got to. It's weird that I haven't talked to him. So, to sum up a short story, or a long story, I see him outside talking to Aaron, and Aaron will just be Aaron. And Aaron's out there. She's like, "Oh, sounds like you guys need to talk." Because I'm like, "Hey, Brian, what's up, man?" I'm like, "You and I got to catch up." It's how I said it, right? And he's like, "Oh," his eyes got real big. He's like, "Oh," he starts like getting all shifty, and he's like, "Oh man, whoa, Barnas, what are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. And Aaron's like, "Well, I'll let you boys talk." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, Aaron." I shook her hand, gave her a hug, the whole thing. And then Brian says, "I have to pee. Can I come back? Can I come back? I have to pee, man. Like, I gotta go to the bathroom, And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" I'm like, "Brian, I haven't seen you in like 3 years." And, and I was like, "You really going to do that to me? You're going to really go into the bar and say you got to pee? Really?" And then now it starts raining. So, but we're covered, right? And I'm looking at him and he's like getting up and he literally is like, "Oh, I got to pee. I got to pee." So I'm like, I was just like, I looked at him. I said, "You're really going to go? You're going to really leave after I asked you to I need 5 minutes, man. I just wanted to talk to you. That's it." He literally is like walking away from me, with a drink in his hand, putting his hand over his crotch. I just got to pee. I'll be right back." Did Brian come back and see me again? No, he did not. I was there for 20 more minutes, stood by the door where we walked in. He never came back by the door in 20 minutes. So either it was a really long pee or, I mean, he literally was like jogging away from me. So I don't know. Last week was a weird week. That happened on Friday night. I saw 3 people in my life that all caused me certain uncomfort in life. Well, all at different various stages, right? But I was forced to be with them and address them. And two of the three are pleasantries now. Like me and Kelly Daniels, all good, man. He's a great guy. He had a life's journey, whatever. Me and the other guy, we're doing okay. We're gonna be fine as long as he doesn't think as long as he doesn't think I'm removing things from the building or anything else, we're going to be good. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to be fine, But Brian, man, he ran away from me like a little bitch. And I'm just going to say, he ran away from me and didn't come back. And I was upset because I'm like, I just want to talk to him. I just want to tell him that I'm okay. Or not okay, but I want to be like, hey, are you okay? Like, if I did something to upset you, I apologize. That's literally what I wanted to tell him. And he wouldn't even give it to me. He ran away from me in a bar full of people. And I was like, all right. So I was like all hot and bothered by that. I'm like, what the hell, man? And my wife's like, well, he ran away. What do you expect? That's who he is. So that reminds me, everybody, this is your friendly Tom Barnas giving you some piece of free advice, is that when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And that is the moral of that story. So you always can get a second chance with me, but on that second chance, if you show me who you are again, I'm going to believe you. The jury's out on the middle guy. Kelly Daniels, the other, and Brian, though, I think I've made my peace with. I have to work with the other guy, so I'm going to hold that one a little longer, make sure it's all good. But either way, it was a hell of a week, man, and a great story to tell here on the Front Stoop. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and talk to you soon.